All right, Ghislaine Maxwell on trial in federal court where there are no cameras, which is something that is really annoying because it makes it very difficult for us legal analysts who are trial attorneys to be able to evaluate a case where we have to, you can't even have a photograph in the court. You have to have sketches. I mean, how archaic. Anyway, Ghislaine Maxwell is charged with very serious offenses involving the interstate transportation of minors for the purposes of engaging in illegal sex acts. There are two victims and two other people who testified as 404B witnesses with respect to a common plan and scheme with regard to Ghislaine Maxwell, who's accused of assisting and working in a conspiracy with Jeffrey Epstein to traffic these young people as young as 14 years old. The defense case is on today. We have Adam Klasfeld with us right now, who is the managing editor of the Law&Crime.com. He is down there covering the trial. So, Adam, I mean, big stuff now. Defense deciding to put a case on. Tell us anything important coming out, because I understand we kind of have a celebrity witness on the stand right now.
Yes, we do, Bob. It's a witness that we long anticipated. Her name is Elizabeth Loftus. She is the key defense psychologist, and she is there essentially to tell the jury about her research into what she calls false memories. She's been a witness before in the OJ. She's been either consulting with or testifying for the defense in the OJ Simpson case, in the Robert Durst case, Harvey Weinstein. So she's been in a lot of major trials. And as a matter of fact, she just said on the witness stand today that she's been an expert witness in more than 300 cases. Now, most of that is with the defense. She said on the witness stand that maybe 5 or 6 times she's consulted with the prosecution, but she's only testified for the prosecution once. In her words, her subject of research and her expertise doesn't fit the prosecution's agenda. That's the word that she used to describe it. So right now, she's on a mission. Her objective is to convince the jurors that the testimony that the jury heard during the first 2 weeks of the case from the accusing witnesses, who say that Ghislaine Maxwell groomed them for Jeffrey Epstein's abuse, or in some cases allegedly participated in the abuse. She's there to try to convince the jurors that those memories are unreliable. She's described so far, although her testimony is ongoing, certain things that she says might lead to implanted memories, such as media being a source of post-event suggestion. So she's describing her CV for the jurors, she's describing some of the avenues of her research, and some of it reprises testimony that she's given in other high-profile cases. Whether this will convince the jury remains to be seen, but it is getting to a big start. This is a witness that is a key expert witness for the defense, who we anticipated before trial, and she was the third witness up right out the gate as the Ghislaine defense begins.
Yeah, Adam, I've been wondering about, I followed her in a number of cases. I know basically her ideas, but there's been a lot of critique of the prosecutors in this case. And of course, we can't be there to really look at it. You're our eyes and ears. But you've got 4 separate people coming up, basically telling the same kind of thematic testimony about this grooming and massaging and how it escalates. I mean, you could talk about maybe you having your memory manipulated, but how much of a challenge does she have, where she's got to basically say 4 people's memories were manipulated and basically saying the same thing?
Absolutely. The defense has a tough row to hoe here. They had as you said, compelling testimony from a number of witnesses who have very similar accounts. They're saying not only stories of grooming for Epstein's abuse, but also saying, multiple witnesses, that Ghislaine Maxwell touched their breasts. Now, they say it happened through an extended period of time dating back to 1994. But that's what makes this testimony from the defense's perspective so important to them, because this is a trial that has events going all the way back to 1994. They're going to try as best as they can to undermine that very compelling testimony that we all saw, sometimes very emotional testimony, and testimony corroborated by little pieces of evidence that the prosecution sought and in many instances succeeded to bring into evidence.
Adam, any insight, because I know the defense dumped like 30 plus witnesses on a witness list, as to whether or not there's going to be any character testimony, people attesting to her character which is typically a setup for the defendant taking the stand. Any insights into either one of those two things happening?
Yes, well, that already happened out the gate this morning, and it was a very brief testimony by someone who used to work for J. Epstein Company. As you can imagine, that was a Jeffrey Epstein company, and she worked with Maxwell, had only praise for her former boss, said that she learned a lot about her in her career being an executive assistant. She left the job in 2002 essentially to go back to what she said, her roots in California. But she had nothing but praise for Maxwell, and Epstein said that she didn't witness any kind of improprieties. Then, in a very short and effective cross-examination by prosecutors, was asked to establish whether she ever worked in any of Epstein's homes. She hadn't. So the kind of suggestion being she wouldn't have seen any of the things that the defense lawyers were asking her about.
Well, yeah, it'd be very interesting to see if Maxwell takes the stand here because, that's a very critical decision. And if the state's case didn't go in perfectly or really, really well, you worry about putting a client on the stand that could fill in the holes by the prosecutor's cross-examination. Adam, thank you so much. Great job as always being our eyes and ears out there during this trial. Look forward to hearing from more of you. And in the meantime, I'm going to sign Adam off and move to Mike Corbanix. Mike is a law and crime legal analyst as well as a certified criminal trial attorney in New Jersey. Mike, what's your read? Let me go to the first thing. Okay, Mike. Why do we not have cameras in the courtroom in federal court? I mean, up to and including the fact that, a sketch artist is all we can get in today's society. It makes it so difficult for the public to understand the case.
I agree with you, Bob. And I had always thought about that up until the past 2 years where, we've seen, I think one of the reasons is that they're very concerned in the federal government about the retaliation that occurred. You saw with the judge who unfortunately lost a son over someone. And I think part of the reason that the federal government and the federal courts is worried about taking pictures in the courtroom is people can use to manipulate them to basically survey the courtrooms when people are on trial. I don't know if it's really as effective as I think it is, but I think that's one of the reasons now.
Mike, well, from what we're reading anecdotally about this case, apparently they did kind of put one character witness on. Do you think Maxwell is going to be taking that stand?
Bob, like we always say, sometimes you've got nothing to lose. And I think at this point in time, they're going to have to evaluate. And I think they may have to put her on, Bob, because they're going to have to separate her in some way from all the testimony coming in about Epstein. And she's going to have to separate herself. And I don't know how else you could do that if these other witnesses don't work out without her taking a stand. It's a tough position the defense is in this case.
Yeah, risky move, Mike. We came up in the same prosecutor's office together when we started as baby prosecutors. And I always remember our first assistant saying that juries love to convict from the mouth of the defendant themselves on the witness stand. If no greater piece of evidence for the prosecutors than that, if the witness doesn't do well. All right, we're going to take a quick break and come back with more of the Kim Potter trial on the other end. Please stay with us.
Hi, this is Dan Abrams with exciting news for all of our Law and Crime followers on YouTube. You can now get the live Law and Crime Network with YouTube TV for all of your daily live trial coverage, legal news, expert analysis, and original true crime programs. Subscribe to YouTube TV today and then locate Law and Crime in the channel guide. And for only $1.99 a month, you can add the network to your bundle. Watch Law and Crime every day with YouTube TV. We put you in the jury box.